through the sky of illumination, finding out my true vocation. Service to the light in every heart. There's no selfish motivation, returning to my humble station as a messenger of love beyond space and time. In every single moment, I allow my atonement. It lifts me to the heights of love divine. It lifts me to the heights of love divine. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Great to see you this morning. Some of you may have noticed a little adornment on me today. It's my birthday present, so I had to wear it, I'm excited about my team, the Seahawks. I know some of you are not too crazy about Seahawks. They're your Cowboys fans, but or other fans, but we all need something to cheer about, right? And so I still kind of like my Seahawks. And I one of the things I like about the Seahawks is they have such an amazing, clear attitude about what they're there to do. And one of the things that their coach always teaches them is to make sure that your head is where your feet are. I always like that saying, make sure your head is where your feet are. And what he means by that, of course, is be present in the moment. Be here and now. There was a great book Julie was telling me about a group of rowers that were in the Olympics many years ago, and their mantra was head in boat, or mind in boat. And so a part of the process and learning in many ways in any activity, I think, is to remember to keep our head where our feet are and keep our mind in the boat. Well, this last week I was listening to what my lesson would be this week, and I heard someone mention a phrase. And they said, well, in a word, yes. And then I thought, well, you've oftentimes heard people say that, in a word, yes. Or in a word, no. And I thought about that phrase. I thought that was an interesting phrase, in a word. How many of you have heard that somebody use that phrasing before? It's pretty common, I think. In a word, yes. In a word, no. And I really got aware of the understanding and really reminded of the importance and the power of words in our life. And the importance and power of words to bring us into an experience, not just to reflect it, but to also help bring us into a knowing, bring us into an experience. I came across a story from Anita Robbins. She said her 16-year-old would be getting his learner's permit soon, and I never missed an opportunity to remind him about seatbelt safety. And riding in the car one day, I started my lecture. And when your friends are in your car, do not start driving until everyone is strapped in. Understand? And instead of giving me his usual grief, I know, he said, Mom, say that again. So she offered it again. Whenever you are in your car, don't start driving. And he asked it again. He asked her to repeat it 3 times. And she said, "What? Is there something wrong? What's wrong? Why are you asking me to say it again?" "Oh, nothing. I just love hearing you say your car." There's a good power in words. And we respond to certain words in powerful ways, don't we? And we respond to other words that are not necessarily as powerful to us, but other times they're powerful in ways that we don't necessarily want or need or like. I remember there was actually a story by a man by the name of Jack Sunday, and he tells about an experience that he had in the spring of 1924. And he was a 4-year-old kid standing in line with his father inside the White House waiting to meet President Calvin Coolidge. And as they neared him, Jack noticed that he said something to every person that came in, that shook his hand. And soon when he got up to the president, he was so excited and so thrilled to be able to shake the hands of the president, And Jack put out his hand, his small hand, and the president looked at him and said, "Move along." He said he remembered that all of his life. And it had an impact. We won't say what impact it was, but it had an impact. But you know, sometimes words that are heard and words that are said have impacts well beyond the moment in which they're said. And that's so valuable for us to really begin to recognize that. There was an article I read in AARP some years ago on memory. I forgot all about it, and it came back to me. Ba-boom. But one of the things that they did in this study was they used different words with people, and then they were actually testing their memory when they were using these different words. And what they found was that words like senile, forgetful, etc., actually reduce memory scores. And when they use words like wisdom and thoughtful, aware, they increased memory scores. And this has been replicated a number of times. And so there is a power that affects you and I based upon the words that are spoken, the words that are thought, the words that are felt. Words are of supreme importance, according to Charles Fillmore. Words are of supreme importance. Actually, this quote is from Newton Dillaway, another wonderful truth teacher. Words are of supreme importance in that they make impressions on the conscious mind and on the subconscious mind. And these impressions often shape the quality of our thinking and our actions. So not only do they reflect our thinking and our actions, but they actually are formative. Words in and of themselves are creative. We are creating circumstances and situations and mindful energies and consciousness by the words that we choose, the words that we hold to. Gandhi had this wonderful little, it's almost like a poem, but it really just statements. He says, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And so today what we're really looking at and exploring and celebrating is the importance, the significance, and the power of words. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, and Dr. Martin Luther King was a master at words, and he knew, I think, the power and the value of words. He says, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. At this time, I want to pause a second, and I want to ask Charles to play a short video for us that has to do, I believe, with this power of words.
Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. You are the light.
I love that little video because it really does, to me, speak about that importance and the power of words in our lives. Jesus said, you've also heard that our ancestors are told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows that you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say, by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say, by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say, by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say, by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. I was looking at this verse, and it really speaks to me of the power of our words and the power that we use with our words. And what I hear in this is that the words that we say need to be either a yes, an acceptance, or a no, not acceptance. And we have the power to do that not only in our lives, but we have the power to do that with our own thoughts and the words that we use in our life. When he says the evil one, I looked up that, and I have always had a challenge with the representation that is often presented in this way. The translation from this verse of evil, or evil one, that's been translated as evil one, is not a real accurate translation. When you look up the word, it is actually, I have to remember it now, I didn't write it down, panos, I believe it was. And that word actually simply means harmful. Or it simply means, in some ways, it means unaware. And in some translations of that word, it means dumb, stupid. It just simply means it's not effective, it's not worthwhile, it's not worth putting anything else into. And so when we are saying things in our lives, hold an awareness of, am I saying this as a simple yes or a simple no? Well, what do we mean by that, a simple yes or a simple no? To me, I think it is really pretty obvious. Is it something that is life-enhancing, that really builds up, that is encouraging, that is supportive, or is it something that is tearing down, that is breaking down, that is limiting, that is holding back, that is perhaps judging or condemning? In Talks on Truth, Charles Fillmore says, Word of God is the revelation to man of the powers and possibilities of his own being. It is the light that brings to his notice the inner mechanism of his soul and his body. And so when we look at the words that we use in our lives, I think it's so important for us to really consciously pay attention to how we're using our language and our words. And because it is an expression of divine power. In the very beginning, in John it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The word that is translated as word is actually logos. But logos is actually a term that implies the very creative principle of the universe. And so when we say the Word of God, what we're talking about is this creative principle. And that creative principle is effectively expressed through the power of our words and how we use our words and what we say and what the words that we choose and how we are focusing the energies of our consciousness and our mind, and using the words to either do that or to transform them, perhaps, to change how we're seeing things or change how we're looking at things. When I was thinking about this, I was reminded of a training that I took some years ago that really taught me something really valuable, and I'm still learning this, and it's an empowering awareness. Basically, when you say your word, you've heard the term, give me your word. You've heard that before? When you say, give me your word, basically it means that you're making a promise, right? Well, I would suggest to you, when you agree to do something, when you say you're going to do something, you basically made a promise. And whether you realize it or not. When I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, there is an immediate loss of self-esteem. When any of us say we're going to do something and we don't do it, there's an immediate disempowerment. We are really releasing and reducing our ability and our power. Do you realize that? Now, don't get me wrong, I've disempowered myself a number of times in my life. But it's not that we're bad, it's not that we're doing something harmful, but we are doing something that is, well, I guess in a way it is harmful because it's not really allowing us to listen to and feel the power of our own words. And so it's so important when we say we're going to do something that we follow through on what we say we're going to do. And if we can't follow through, then we certainly renegotiate. That's an empowering thing as well. And if we can't renegotiate, then we do our best and we try and we make every effort to fulfill what we've said, because the very act of saying you're going to do something and then following through on it is automatically empowering of us on a consciousness level, isn't it? When you set an intention for something and then you fulfill that intention, do you not automatically begin to feel something better? Everyone does. It is a common thread. And so it's just something valuable to be aware that our words really do reflect how we're going to show up, and it will affect how we experience ourselves. So when we say we're going to do something, it's important, not necessarily out here, although it is important out here because that's what trust is built on, isn't it? We build trust by saying something and then following through on it. And we diminish trust when we say we're going to do something and we don't follow through on it. It doesn't make us wrong, it doesn't make us bad, but it automatically has an effect on us, and it automatically has effect on our connections and our relationships, doesn't it? So we don't want to necessarily use our words in ways that will disempower us, that will take away from our energy and our consciousness of our true nature and our being. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 35, Jesus said, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." My words will never pass away. And the words that we have from Jesus, from Buddha, from all of our great spiritual teachers, that is what we have that has been called forth and carried forth sometimes through centuries. And they still are having an impact, and they're still having an effect. Sometimes a positive effect in favor and in alignment with, and sometimes an effect of resistance and trying to overcome and trying to not accept. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 33, Jesus said, "Make a tree good and its fruit will be good, or make a tree bad and its fruit will be bad. For a tree is recognized by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil," again, immature, not very bright, not intelligent, "say anything good? For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. The good man brings things out of the good stored up in him, and the evil man brings things out of the evil stored up in him. Well, again, that term evil, interestingly enough, that term evil did not show up until really actually about the Middle Ages to be how this was translated. And so what he's really saying here is he's really talking about people who are unconscious, people who are unaware. And not just people who are unaware, but just unawareness. Unawareness of the truth, unawareness of the divine when he refers to this. And so what we're talking about here is that nothing that comes out of us, that comes through our unawareness, is really going to bear fruit that is of value, that is uplifting, that is positive, that's worthwhile. And so we want to listen to not only what words we're using, but listen to where the words that we use come from. He went on to say later, "By your words you will be judged, and by your words you'll be condemned. By your words you'll be acquitted, and by your words you'll be condemned." You know, our words do actually have not only effect on us, but they have effect on and can have effects on those around us. And so it's so important that we consciously pay attention to not only what words we're using, but where they're coming from. I'm convinced that We affect our health, our well-being by the words that we say to ourselves, about ourselves, and to others, and about the words that we use to not only say out loud, but even the inner dialogue, the self-talk that goes on inside of us. You know, if we're holding thoughts of words about ourselves that are not uplifting, that are not positive, that are not expressing our true and divine nature, we're actually then doing things that are diminishing not only ourselves physically, but on all levels. But we're doing the same if we're holding those kind of thoughts and words about others. And the thing about this is to remember is there's a law, there's a principle out there that whatever we are holding in our energy, in our consciousness, we're putting out a vibration. And that vibration is actually bouncing back. It's coming back to us. It's called the law of attraction. So whatever we're sending forth is also what we're bringing back. And so if we're holding any kind of anger or resentment or judgment or frustration about others, we want to shift that because we don't want that stuff back, right? We don't want to get that back. This last week in my meditation, I heard, that little voice inside comes through sometimes and tells me little things. And I heard this week. It said, all sound is the result of action. Every sound is a vibration created by some action, except one sound, which is the sound of silence. The sound of silence is the sound of being, whereas all other sound is sounds of doing. The more we immerse ourselves in the sound of silence, the closer we come to being our true being. Much of our doing, in fact, most of our doing, is a reaction to and or response to other action or doing instead of our being. The more we immerse ourselves in being, the more our actions, our doing, reflects our being, our truth. When I think about sound, I think about words. And the more we immerse ourselves in the silence, the closer we come to our true nature. The more we immerse ourselves in times of meditation and really being in that place of stillness and silence, the clearer we become with our true nature. And as a result, the words that come out of us, the actions that come out of us, anything that comes forward is going to reflect more of our being. But what we have a tendency to do is continue to allow our thoughts, our feelings, our words to be reactions to and reflections not of our being, but some other doing, either ours or someone else's. Does that make sense? So we're doing it in reaction to things, and those words have an effect, but they don't have the power of truth behind them. And so the more we can stay in tune with that place within us where we are connected with the divine, the more we can actually reflect that in our words, and the more we reflect that in our words, the more we actually become an instrument of that energy, that light, that presence, that power that is the essence of who and what you are. Your true nature, your true being. Many of you have seen and perhaps read the work of Dr. Emoto, who demonstrated the power of words on water, where he took water and then used words, put labels on some of the vials that he put these different waters in, and he would flash freeze this water and then look at them under the microscope, and what he found was that those things that were words that were like hate and fear and those sort of things, when he looked at them under the microscope, they were disordered and they were kind of just erratic. But when he looked at the ones that we consider life-enhancing, like love and peace and joy and those sort of things, they were very orderly and very beautiful crystals, very beautiful crystals. And there have been others who've replicated this. There are many who've tried to disprove it and have not replicated it. And there are many who've been able to replicate it. Well, that just tells me the power of consciousness, in my opinion, on what's being observed. Does that make sense? So I want to read to you little something I came across some time ago from Joel and Michelle Levy. Many of you may be familiar with the Levies. They're wonderful spiritual teachers. Speaking to someone is an intimate act. With your words, you enter the mind of others. Your choice of words focuses the attention and shapes the perceptions and the beliefs of others. Be mindful today of how you use your words. Be careful or reckless. Are you careful or reckless? Do you speak mindfully with good and clear intention? Do you speak mindlessly with muddled motivations? Do you use your words to open the minds of people or to close their minds? Do you speak in ways that clarify or distort how people view others? Be mindful that your intentions in speaking are to illuminate rather than to confuse, to clarify rather than to bias, to help rather than to harm. Reflections on the evening, 10/19/03. When I listen to this, I can't help but be brought into my awareness that we're in a political season. Anybody notice that? Has anybody noticed the words that are being used by so many of our politicians? Do you think that we should pay attention to whether the words that are being used are going to reflect more of what we know and feel to be the truth, to be light? Do we find ourselves hearing words that are, as they say, not really uplifting, but they're based on separation? Now, I will not tell you how to vote or who to vote for. Let me clarify that. I will tell you, I don't mind telling you how to vote. I won't tell you who to vote for or what to vote for. But I can tell you, when you do vote, make sure that you're voting for those who are uplifting, those who are holding a vision for possibility, those who are making an effort to make a positive difference in this world. Make your voice count. Your voice is powerful. Your voice makes a difference. Be a part of making the difference by helping to make decisions for those who are going to make decisions in a way that uplift and reflect the possibilities not only of yourself, but all of us in this world and in this country. Florence Schofield Shinn said, "Life is a crossword puzzle. The right word gives you the answer." Many people are rattling off destructive words in their conversation. We hear them say, "I'm broke, I'm sick." Remember, by your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned. You are condemned by them because they do not return void. Change your words, and you change your world, for your word is your world. Florence Schofield Shinn. And today I want to close with actually another short video. And Charles, will you cue that one up for us?
All right, we're starting our day off, Mom, with our pledge. You ready, Joshua?
Yes.
Let's go.
Today is going to be a good day.
Today is going to be a good day.
I thank God for waking me up today.
I thank God for waking me up today.
Going to school
I'm going to school
so I can learn.
so I can learn,
Go to college.
go to college,
Be the leader that God's created me.
and be the leader that God has created me to be.
I'll be
Today.
Today. I'll be taught.
I'll be educated.
I'll be educated
I'll be educated.
by my teachers.
Empowered.
Empowered by my teachers.
By my teachers. With the tools.
With the tools
To be successful.
to be successful
Within
and throughout the country.
my community.
Within my community and throughout the country.
Within my community and throughout the country.
I apply myself daily.
I apply myself daily.
I study.
I study.
And ask questions.
And I ask questions
when I don't understand.
when I don't understand.
When I'm confronted with a problem.
When I'm confronted with the problem.
Or conflict.
Or conflict.
I think
I think
before I react.
before I react.
Or
I ignore.
I ignore all negative influence
I ignore all negative influences
in the classroom,
in the classroom
throughout the school,
and throughout the school day.
When I'm confronted with a problem.
When I'm confronted with the problem.
Or a conflict.
Or a conflict.
I think
I think
before I react.
I ignore.
I ignore all negative influences
I ignore all negative influences
in the classroom,
throughout the school,
and throughout my school day.
I'm extremely
proud
I'm extremely proud
to be the next generation
to be the next generation
of Christian leaders.
I
Accept responsibility.
I accept responsibility.
And then let me say the whole thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I accept responsibility and love the challenge.
I accept responsibility and I love the challenge. Let's go. You ready?
Yeah. Peace.
Game time.
Game time.
Start your day off with something positive, man. Our kids can learn. It's our job to teach them. Let's go.
I'd like everybody to stand up a moment. Raise your hands in the air. And I want you to join me in saying one of the most valuable and most powerful words you will ever say. And I want to hear it loud and clear. Yes! Yes! And so it is. Thank you, God. All right. Let's move into our meditation time. Take a moment to take a nice deep breath. Breathe into the heart space. And as we breathe into that heart space, we open our hearts, our minds, our whole being to move closer and clearer and more open to the silence. That place where we are in harmony and alignment with our whole being, beyond words, beyond sound. Immersing ourselves in essence, light, oneness, truth, peace, power, wisdom. All these words that are closer to being, to the divine, to the presence, drawing us inward to hear that still small voice of spirit in the silence, in the silence. And from this place of silence, we allow the energies, the vibrations, the sounds, the words that reflect our true nature, our divine being, the presence of God, to rise up from that stillness like a bubble of light and life and peace and love. And we allow them to form into the words that not only reflect that being, but express it and call it forth even more. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Blessed Spirit. And so it is. Bring your awareness back into this room, back into this time and place, being present here and now, still in touch with that center, that oneness, and knowing and accepting and allowing those words to come forth from that place. And so it is. Amen.